Money for the next phases of rebuilding, which includes a splash pad and accessible bathrooms. Contact information can be found on your screen.
With me now is Liz Snyder from Hillside Garden Landscaping. And Liz, our viewers really enjoyed hearing about and seeing the spring bulbs you shared last week. What are some other ways to add some spring color to your landscaping right now?
Well, over the next few weeks, as the spring bulbs tend to peter out and die off, I wanted to just share some things that would bring some beautiful color to your garden. So one of the most popular annuals for this time of year is either going to be pansies or violas. They come in just so many bright, sunny colors. There's big flowers, there's little miniatures, some have curly petals, but they all are really cold hardy. So if we get the occasional snow like we had this past weekend, these sort of plants can get a little bit of snow on them, and they might droop a little bit, but they'll perk right back up. And over the next, several weeks, they will bloom their little heads up and just give you lots of nice color. You can use those in a container, or you can plant those right in your beds amongst your annuals or amongst your perennials and your shrubs to give you that little color. And then oftentimes pansies and violas will reseed, so they will put some seeds into the bed, and then you'll that's why they call them, Johnny jump bugs, because they'll come up here and there throughout your beds and give you that little color. As the season goes on and the temperatures get warmer, though, they're going to start to kind of peter out a little bit.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and either cut those back, or you can pull them out. But oftentimes, if they do reseed, then they'll show up in your beds a little later in the fall when things get cool again.
Yes.
So, and one of our favorite ground covers that's getting ready to start blooming is Creeping Phlox. And we get a lot of questions about what can I plant on a slope or in the foreground of a bed. And Creeping Phlox is really nice because it comes in a lot of different colors. There's pinks and whites. There's kind of a nice blue color, and it's really low growing. So it only gets maybe about 3 inches tall or so, and it's deer resistant. So if you're in an area that's got a heavy deer population, that's a nice way to get color in the spring in your beds. It'll bloom for a number of weeks, and then once it's done, you can just kind of deadhead it by picking those dead, spent flowers off there. And the rest of the season, it'll just kind of be a nice green carpet in the front of your beds. It's really cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think everyone needs a little bit of color right now. What are some other plants that you want to share with us right now?
Well, once we get a little bit further into spring and things like the creeping phlox are done and whatnot, Brunnera is really pretty easy to grow perennial that is kind of a low mound, and it has a heart-shaped kind of silvery leaf. So it's got a really neat texture, and it's kind of fuzzy, which again makes it deer resistant, which is one of the reasons it's so popular. So the foliage on that is really pretty, and that looks really nice all season long. But in kind of mid-spring, it gets loaded with these blue forget-me-not type flowers that are just in clusters all over the top of the plant that really last for quite a while. And so it'll give you that true blue flower, which is kind of rare in the plant world to get something that's really blue. So it looks good for a long time in the spring, and then again, once those flowers are done, you can cut those off, and it's kind of just a nice low mound of foliage. So for viewers that like hosta, later in the summer because of the beautiful leaves, this can be a nice alternative because of that fuzziness the deer don't need. So, hosta is one of those things that gets kind of mauled by deer in our area, but this is a nice alternative for that. And it can tolerate quite a bit of shade too. So if you've got a shady garden, Brunnera is great for that as well.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Liz. We appreciate you sharing some of these tips on landscaping with us right now.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm Liz Snyder, your home gardener from Hillside Garden Landscaping.
You can watch Home Gardener every week only on Around the Tiers. For today's segment and to find out more, head to WBNG.com, click on Around the Tiers, and select Home Gardener from the drop-down menu. Thanks for watching Around the Tiers. Stay tuned, we'll have a final check of your weather, and 12 News at Noon wraps up next.
This has been Around the Tiers.